Hi, friends. Today, I'm sharing a new story with you. Hope you enjoy it. She needs a fresh start. Emma, please try to understand, my mom said over the phone. Her voice sounded desperate, with that familiar guilty tone I knew too well. I stood in my New York office, looking out at the city, trying to believe what she had just told me. Without asking me, my parents had let my sister, Jessica, move into my investment property for free. You didn't think to ask me first? I asked calmly, even though I was gripping the phone tightly. It's my property, Mom. I bought it with my own money. Yes, but Jessica's had a rough time with her divorce. She has nowhere else to go. You're doing great with your finance job in New York, and you don't even use the house, Mom said. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I had worked hard to build my career as an investment banker and saved carefully to invest in real estate. The townhouse in Chicago was my first big property. I had fixed it up and was planning to rent it out soon. Besides, Mom added, family helps family. Those words stung. Where was this family help when I worked 3 jobs to get through college, while Jessica spent her trust fund partying? How long has she been living there? I asked, already worried about the answer. Just a few days, she said. She moved in last weekend. Your father gave her the emergency key you left with us. Of course he did. The key I trusted them with was now used to let Jessica move in without asking me. And when were you planning to tell me? We're telling you now, honey. Jessica's so happy. She's even thinking of repainting some rooms to make it brighter. My stomach sank. She's what? Oh, nothing big. Just a few walls. You know how good she is at decorating. Remember when she wanted to be an interior designer? I remembered, just like her photography phase, yoga instructor phase, and juice bar phase, all expensive hobbies funded by our parents that didn't last. Mom, she can't just. Emma, please, Mom interrupted. Can't you help your sister just this once? I took another deep breath. My mind was already working on a plan. You're right, Mom, she's family, I said calmly. Oh, sweetheart, I knew you'd understand, she said happily. I smiled a little as I opened my laptop and checked my banking records. I have to go. Client meeting. After I hung up, I pulled a thick folder out of my desk labeled Chicago property. I had already prepared for something like this months ago with my lawyer, legal documents, property rules, and papers showing that the house now belonged to my company, not me personally. Because the property was owned by my LLC, a company I created, if anyone lived there without permission, it would legally be considered trespassing. I had set it up exactly for situations like this. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Jessica. Thanks for letting. The paperwork showed everything clearly. Jessica had made $23,000 worth of changes without permission, broken several building rules with her DIY work, and, most importantly, had been renting out my extra rooms on Airbnb illegally. I sat at my office desk, looking at all the photos and reports. Jessica had completely changed the investment property I worked so hard to fix up. She turned it into what she called her bohemian dream house. The elegant gray walls were now painted in loud, clashing colors. The expensive appliances I bought had been replaced with cheap ones. She even sold the originals online. According to her social media posts, the nice hardwood floors were now covered in messy artistic designs she made with epoxy. My phone buzzed. It was Jessica again. Emma, the house looks amazing. I'm thinking about starting a home renovation blog. Maybe this could be my new career. I added her text to my growing pile of evidence and checked the calendar. Only 2 weeks left until the corporate audit I had scheduled. 2 weeks until my family would finally see what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. Are you sure about the timing? My lawyer Sarah asked during our last meeting. Jessica's big birthday party is the day after the audit notices are sent. I smiled, remembering the party invite. Jessica was throwing a huge housewarming and birthday bash at my property. She even hired caterers and invited 50 people, all paid for by our parents. The timing is perfect, I said. Let them have their fun first. The day before the party, my mom called. Emma, you're coming to Jessica's party tomorrow, right? She's done so much with the house, everyone's excited to see it. Actually, Mom, I'll be in Chicago for work. I'll stop by. Wonderful. Jessica keeps saying she wishes you could see what she's done with your old place. My old place, as if I had abandoned it and Jessica saved it. Then my mom said, since Jessica's made so many improvements, maybe we should think about transferring the deed to her. You're doing so well in New York, after all. I squeezed the phone tighter. We'll talk tomorrow. That night, I flew to Chicago. In my briefcase, copies of the audit results, legal papers, complaints from neighbors, and proof that Jessica had been making money from renting my rooms. The morning of the party, I got to the house early for the inspection. My property manager, lawyer, and a contractor were already there. The contractor shook his head as he looked around. The kitchen's electrical work is unsafe, the floors weren't done right, and worst of all, she knocked down a load-bearing wall. We wrote down everything, then I checked my watch. 3 hours until the party, perfect. Jessica texted. Where are you? Caterers are here, wait till you see the meditation room I made. I forwarded it to my lawyer. The notices are ready, she said. Should we give them out during or after the party? During, I said. Let them show off first. At 4 o'clock, guests arrived. I watched from my car as Jessica played hostess, giving tours, showing off the house she didn't own. My parents were glowing with pride. At 5:30, when the party was at its peak, my team arrived with the official documents. I stepped out of my car and walked toward the house I had bought with years of hard work. Jessica ran up to hug me. Emma, you're finally here, isn't it beautiful? I smiled calmly as my lawyer and team followed behind me, carrying clipboards. Yes, I said, let's talk about exactly what you've done to my property. The room went silent. Jessica froze as official papers were placed on the coffee table. Jessica's hand shook as she picked up the top paper. What is this? Sarah, my lawyer, stepped forward. This is a formal notice of illegal occupancy and property violations, issued by EJM Holdings LLC, the legal owner of this house. My dad stepped closer. Emma, what's happening? I stayed calm. EJM Holdings is my company, Dad. I moved the property into it 6 months ago, around the time you gave Jessica my emergency key. My mom turned pale. But, it's still your house, right? No, Mom, it's corporate property now, and Jessica broke a lot of rules. Jessica's boyfriend tried to butt in. Come on, it's family, you can't be serious. Sarah handed over more papers. We have proof of building code violations, illegal renovations, and Airbnb rentals. The room went even quieter. Jessica's champagne glass fell and shattered on the floor. They were just friends staying over, she cried. I calmly showed screenshots of her Airbnb listings. My dad tried to argue. We were just trying to help Jessica. By giving away property that wasn't yours, I said. By letting her wreck it with unsafe work? By ignoring that she was running an illegal business? The contractor added. The place isn't safe anymore. Jessica burst into tears. This isn't fair, I made it better. I looked around at the ruined the cheap-looking epoxy floors. Better, you've caused thousands of dollars in damage and broken rules that need fixing. Thousands? My mother whispered. Sarah nodded. The cost to fix everything and bring it up to code is about $45,000, and that doesn't even count the illegal rental money. My father's face turned red, then purple. This is insane. You can't do this to your own sister. Actually, I can. And I'm not doing anything. These are just the consequences of her actions you helped with. The property manager stepped up with more paperwork. We have proof of every unauthorized change, every rule broken, and all the illegal rentals. We also have proof of the items Jessica sold online. Jessica's tears turned to anger. Those ugly appliances? I replaced them with better ones. Those ugly appliances were high-end and worth over $115,000. I replied calmly. You had no right to sell them. My mother grabbed my arm. Emma, please, we can sort this out as a family. There's no need for all this legal stuff. I gently removed her hand. That's where you're wrong, Mom. This stopped being a family issue when you and Dad gave away property that wasn't yours, and when Jessica treated my investment like her personal project. But I needed a fresh start, Jessica cried. After my divorce. Your fresh start doesn't mean you can take my property, I interrupted. Your divorce doesn't give you the right to make unauthorized changes, sell my things, or run an illegal rental business. The party guests were quietly leaving behind half-drunk glasses and plates of untouched food. Jessica's boyfriend and most of her friends had vanished. Sarah cleared her throat. Our records showed Jessica made about $22,000 renting out your property illegally. This money, along with what she got from selling your stuff, has to be repaid. Jessica collapsed onto her vintage couch. I don't have that kind of money. I spent it on making this place better. Better? I chuckled softly. You mean damaged? Every change you made without permission, every unapproved alteration, it all has to be fixed. My father tried one last time. Emma, be reasonable. What's your sister supposed to do? Where will she go? I met his gaze. That's not my problem, Dad. Just like it wasn't your property to give away. Jessica has 30 days to leave and start paying for the damage and illegal income. 30 days? My mother gasped. But all her things are here. She's built a life here. She built it on stolen property, Sarah added. The 30 days is a courtesy, Sarah said. We could make her leave immediately. Jessica jumped up. You can't do this, Mom, Dad, tell her she can't do this. I watched my parents exchange helpless glances. They realized they had no control. Their disregard for my property and the idea that Jessica's needs mattered more than my ownership was falling apart. The property will be restored to its original condition, I said calmly. Anything not covered by the repayment plan will be your responsibility, Jessica, and yes, we'll take legal action if we need to. Legal action? My mother whispered. You'd sue your own sister? You mean like how you tried to get me to transfer the property to her? I asked. Yes, Mom, I heard your suggestion earlier. Consider this my response. The property manager handed out the final notices. All communication should go through our legal team. If you make any more changes or keep renting the property, we'll take action. I turned to leave but paused. Oh, and Jessica, happy birthday. Consider this your wake-up call. Sometimes the best lessons are the hardest to learn. As I walked out, I heard Jessica sobbing, my mother pleading, and my father mumbling angrily, but for the first time in months, I felt at peace. Sometimes standing firm makes you the villain in someone else's story, but I'd rather be the villain than the doormat they wanted me to be. Let them call me cruel. Let them call me the heartless sister who wouldn't help her family. I knew the truth. Sometimes the best thing you can do for family is let them face the consequences of their actions. 6 months later, after Jessica's disastrous birthday party, I stood in my newly restored Chicago property, checking out the repairs. The walls were back to their original elegant gray. The load-bearing wall had been fixed. New high-end appliances were in the kitchen. Every repair had been documented, every rule violation fixed, and all of Jessica's improvements were gone. The restoration cost $67,000, much more than expected once contractors found all the damage. After long negotiations, Jessica agreed to a repayment plan, using her part of our grandparents' inheritance to pay for the repairs and illegal rental income. My phone buzzed with a message from her, the first direct contact we'd had in months. Can we talk? In person. No lawyers, no drama, just sisters. I thought about ignoring it, but something had changed over the past few months. Coffee tomorrow at 10 o'clock. The shop across from my property. When I arrived at the coffee shop, I almost didn't recognize my sister. Gone was the bohemian style and carefree attitude. She was dressed business casual, with a laptop open in front of her, looking professional. Thanks for meeting me, she said quietly. I've been thinking a lot. Oh? I kept my tone neutral, noticing the spreadsheets on her screen. You were right, she said, surprising me, about everything. I took advantage. I thought that because you were successful, and because you're my sister, I had some right to your property. I didn't respect what you built. I sipped my coffee, waiting. These past months have taught me a lot, she continued, living with Mom and Dad again, actually having to budget, facing the real consequences. She laughed softly. Turns out I'm not as helpless as everyone thought. She turned her laptop toward me. On the screen was a business plan for a legitimate homestaging company. Remember how I used to talk about interior design? Well, I'm doing it right this time, taking courses, getting certified, building a real business plan. No shortcuts, no handouts. And the funding? I asked, curious. I'm starting small, using what I know, building a portfolio. Once I've proven myself, I'll apply for a real business loan. No more family money or, she hesitated, or taking what isn't mine. For the first time, I saw my sister, the person she could be when she actually tried. Mom and Dad aren't happy, she admitted. They wanted me to fight the repayment plan, to guilt you into backing down, but I wouldn't. I needed this wake-up call. Emma, we all did. She handed me a check. This is the first payment. I know it's going through the lawyers, but I wanted to give you one in person, to show I'm serious. I looked at the check, then back at my sister. Keep it, I said. Use it for your certification courses instead. Her eyes widened. But the repayment plan still stands, I said. This one payment, consider it an investment in your future, a real one this time. Tears welled up in her eyes, but these weren't the manipulative tears I was used to. I'm so sorry, Emma, for everything. I know. We sat in silence for a moment before she spoke again. Dad's selling his boat to help cover the repairs. He said it's the least he can do, since he gave away your key. And Mom, she smiled sadly, Mom's actually talking to a therapist about her enabling. I raised an eyebrow. This was unexpected. Your actions didn't just wake me up, Jessica explained. They made all of us look at our patterns, how we took advantage, how we justified it because of family. She gathered her things, getting ready to leave for her class. I'm not asking for forgiveness yet. I know I have to earn that. But I want you to know, you did the right thing, even if it felt harsh at the time. You did what none of us had the courage to do. She smiled. You broke the cycle. After she left, I went back to my property. The afternoon sun shone through the windows, lighting up everything that had been restored. But maybe, I realized, more than just the property had been fixed. That evening, I got an email from my father. Subject, apology and amends. Dear Emma, I'm selling my boat and some other assets, not because Jessica asked me to, but because I need to make things right. I gave away your key, broke your trust, and then tried to defend it. You deserve better from your father. I saved the email, noticing how different it felt from his usual responses. Change, it seemed, was possible when you force people to face the consequences of their actions. The next day, my property manager sent the final restoration photos. Looking at them, I realized something important. This wasn't just about protecting my investment, it was about setting boundaries, earning respect, and making the tough choice to prioritize justice over temporary peace. The property was mine again, truly mine. But more importantly, my family was finally learning to respect not just my ownership, but my right to stand up for myself. Sometimes the biggest gift you can give your family is the chance to grow, even if it comes wrapped in legal notices and tough lessons. And sometimes, the strongest foundations are built on firm boundaries and earned respect. Standing in my restored property, I smiled. The walls weren't just repaired, they were stronger. And so was I.